Hi everyone, it's Dr. Rani here, and welcome back to my video series called 10 Ways in 10 Days, where I'm going to be sharing my 10 best tips on things you can do to protect and preserve your vision. So in case you missed it, my first two videos were on nutrients for eye health as well as UV protection. So if you haven't watched them yet, please go back and take a listen. But today what I'm going to be talking about is blue light. Now there's a lot of controversy about blue light because in some ways blue light is absolutely necessary for our health, and it's important for us to get some degree of blue light. But then on the other side of the controversy, there is this concept that blue light can potentially harm our eyes and be detrimental to our vision health, and potentially impact our sleep patterns as well. So there is some truth to that. But let me just first explain a little bit about blue light, where it comes from, and why it's important. So blue light is a short wavelength, high energy light on the short end of the spectrum. So the visible spectrum is basically the rainbow of colors from violet all the way to red, and blue light is in the range of 400 to 500 nanometers within that spectrum. And there are within that range, within that 100 nanometer range, there are different wavelengths of blue light. But the shorter end, 400 to 450, is high energy, short wavelength blue light, which can potentially do damage. Now, longer wavelengths are actually beneficial because they are necessary for our bodies to maintain their sleep-wake pattern or their circadian rhythm. And the sun is the greatest emitter of blue light that we have. So when the sun rises in the morning, it starts to emit blue light, and it basically tells our bodies, hey, it's time to wake up, time to get started with your day. But then as the course of the day goes on, the amount of blue light emitted by the sun actually decreases, and it's a signal to our bodies that it's time to wind down, it's time to get ready for bed. But what happens is that in our worlds today, we have lots of other sources of blue light. For example, digital screens are a source of blue light. So whether you're on a phone or a tablet or a computer or you're watching television, all of these screens emit blue light. Also, many of our bulbs now emit blue light. So for example, LED bulbs and even CFL bulbs all emit blue light. So we have these artificial sources of blue light that nature had never intended us to be exposed to. So can these artificial sources of blue light potentially damage our vision or our health in general? So let me just explain a little bit more about that also. So the wavelength of light emitted by devices and bulbs are slightly on the longer end of the blue spectrum. So usually in the range of 460 to 470 or 480 nanometers. So they're not the super short wavelengths that could potentially do damage to our eyes, but they're slightly on the longer side. So technically they should not directly damage our retinas, though there is concern that with the excessive amount of screen time that we all have, many of us spend most of our days in front of our screen, both adults and children, that we are being exposed to way too much blue light. So though it may not, the blue light, there's been no evidence to say that it directly damages our eyes or our retina cells, there is this concern that it can lead to other symptoms. For example, what we call digital eye strain or computer vision syndrome. Blue light can lead to, certainly it can lead to symptoms like light sensitivity, dry eyes, fatigue, perhaps even headaches. So there are a host of symptoms within that umbrella term of digital eye strain that can be associated with blue light. So my recommendation is if you are on a screen for an extended period of time, for me that is hours a day, towards the end of the day you may want to limit the amount of blue light emitted by the screen, or perhaps wear a blue blocker. So I have some blue blockers here I just wanted to show you. So for example, you can get blue blockers. Many of them have a yellow or amber color tint to them, and basically what they do is they block out those short wavelengths, blue wavelengths that can potentially cause some of those symptoms of digital eye strain. But not all blue blockers are made the same. So you can see here that this is a different kind of blue blocker. This is actually a much more dense filter where it actually blocks out most of the blue light. And basically when I put these on, I can't see any shade of blue whatsoever. So I know that this is truly blocking out almost basically 100% of those blue wavelengths. But when I put on my other blue light blockers, for example these, I can still see certain shades of blue. They're not as vibrant or bright, but I can still see blue. So these are not 100% blue blocking glasses. So if you do decide to purchase blue blockers to help with your symptoms of digital eye strain, make sure that you're getting a tint which is slightly darker if you're going to use them closer to bedtime. And I didn't mention this before, but blue light can also impact our sleep-wake patterns. So at night, if we're exposed to blue light right before bed, it may be much more difficult to fall asleep or perhaps even stay asleep. And there are studies to show that blue light exposure right before 2 hours before bed can impact your sleep. So make sure you limit your blue light exposure right before bed. So I talked about blue blockers today. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about a couple of other things you can do to limit your blue light exposure, especially in the evening hours. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm in my series 10 Ways in 10 Days. Make sure to like this video and comment below, and I will see you next time in episode number 4.